What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about what's going on in the markets right now as we're getting very close to Apple's big event. I'm going to break down how this could affect the markets and what levels you should watch for. Before I break anything down in this intraday update, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 10 free stocks. The offer ends in 9 days. Check it out before they run out. All right, so right now when we're looking at the market, looking at the current trend, on 30-minute time frame, SPY has this bullish cross that came very close. I think we just barely got it right now. And for now, we're holding up quite nicely. This is awesome to see for a lot of the bulls because we're getting very close to Apple's big event. However, I would be very careful at these very, very high levels because not only is the market incredibly overbought, but we're getting very close to some heavy, heavy resistance. And once again, I'm just warning you to be very careful because you have to remember why the market's pumping. One piece of news just came out. Well, the market's not pumping off something that came out yet. It's pumping off Apple, which is pushing the market up. Apple just hit a new high ahead of the VR headset unveiling. You can see Tim Cook right over here getting ready for the big event, the big announcements, and this is absolutely incredible. Apple has been pumping very hard in anticipation of this big event. The event starts in about, I think, like 15 minutes from the time I'm recording this, and Apple's new headset is going to be very, very awesome for the company moving forward to bring in more and more profitability for it, to help them make higher levels of investments, and the investments they've made in this technology will help the company moving forward. It's going to help boost their sales and their revenue. And on top of that, it is once again competing in a new VR marketplace, which is once again going to become massive for the future moving forward. It's going to be competing directly with companies like Meta. And once again, investors are very hyped and excited about this. So the PMI reports came out. The market saw some very interesting price action. We got a big pop the second the 10 o'clock a.m. one came out. Then the market started selling off just temporarily before getting bought right back up. So that's why, like right here on SPY, you could see we had this giant wick up to like 429.64 for coming right back down. And that's because the PMI data was not the best, actually. It's showing lots of signs of economic contraction. So if you look at the consensus, we were lower than expected on the global services PMI. On this one right here, the ISM services was a little bit lower than expected. And this data is once again showing many signs of the economy slowing down. Everything was essentially lower than expected, or very, very close to expectations, if not lower. And that's showing more and more signs that are pointing in the direction of a recession. Now, this is all important, and this is why the market sold off just a little bit, but the market got bought up once again as Apple is continuing to pump. So Apple is helping the market pump. I could just bring it up on the screen right here. It's up almost 2% already on the 5-minute. You can see on my right side. It's getting very close to that 185 resistance, and that's great to witness. It's very, very awesome for the bulls, like I said, but we have to be careful, okay? Apple is notorious for the buy the rumor, sell the news kind of events. It's pumping nicely, yes. Could it keep going? Yes. But be careful by, the later hours today, approaching tomorrow. If Apple starts selling off after the event comes out, after pricing in a lot of this price action and a lot of the news about the headsets, something big could happen moving forward. It could start to cool off. If it happens, you have to watch for confirmation. Make sure you watch the 50 EMA. We have support at 183.79. And if it breaks below that, then that's going to be our confirmation of it likely getting closer to the 200. Apple's also going to be announcing new updates coming out for their software and their other products. And I think their website was down temporarily today because they were updating it for something big. So this is once again getting lots of investors excited. But I'm just warning you guys to be very, very careful at these levels. Now, as far as SPY goes, this entire 429 to 430 area has quite a bit of resistance. And the last time we saw it pumped about 430, we got a big rejection back in August of 2022. We could pump a little bit more off the event, and I could see SPY getting closer to this 430 area, but be very, very careful because we're very close to it already, and resistance right now is getting very tight. Now, 429.47, we have some heavy resistance there. Also, the 430 area, I'd still be very, very careful. If Apple starts selling off, then we have to watch these particular levels. So for Apple, we're going to be watching 185 flat. If it manages to break that, all the way up to 185. It has the potential to retest not retest, but break to about 187. And then for SPY, we're going to be watching 430 as major resistance. 429.47 has quite a bit of resistance, but it's not as significant as 430. If it breaks 430, we could get closer to 432.5. Once again, I'm just going to be very cautious with this because this is heavy resistance and we have gone rejected from here from the past. And on top of that, there is a bearish divergence I saw developing on SPY right now. It's in the process of developing, so there's no confirmation of it playing out. But if we get some kind of rejection and it starts downtrending, then this would be confirmation of the bearish divergence. We don't have confirmation yet, so that's why it's not downtrending. For confirmation, you have to watch it break below 429, then 428.5. We have some support right there. Then we have stronger support between 427.64 to 427.5. If it breaks this 427 zone right here, this zone down here, we're likely going to see this thing come all the way down to 425. But we need confirmation first to make sure you watch these supports carefully. And don't forget about resistance. Now on the QQQ, where's my QQQ chart? It's right here. This thing is continuing to pump. It's approaching that zone I was talking about, that 358 zone. If it broke and held this 356, and that's what it ended up doing. Now that's great and all, but the RSI is close to 80. It's very, very overbought. And the only reason it's pumping like this is because of Aapl. I'd be careful with this, okay? I personally would not buy a stock like this or buy too much or too heavily into it when the RSI is this overbought. Let me just remind you all that the QQQ also still has a valid, I believe it's still valid right here. There is technically still a valid bearish divergence on the QQQ. And if you zoom out, it's even more significant. So it's a little hard to see, I know. But look at the RSI basically right here. There is still a bearish divergence developing. And what that tells me is that if we get a rejection somewhere around here, there's going to be a sharp decline. I'm not seeing it just yet. There's no confirmation of this. And there's always a possibility it could just keep going in and invalidate that bearish divergence. Not saying that it's going to validate it or invalidate it, but so far it has been valid. So that's why I'm watching this very carefully. So what do I see happening in the market right now? Well, the QQQ could get a little bit closer to about 358. That's the level I was talking about. And then we're going to react to see what happens to Aapl. If Aapl keeps pumping off the event, we could see this pump a little bit more. But my only concern would be for the bulls that there are bearish divergences on the NASDAQ and the QQQ. And for Aapl, if Aapl has a buy the rumor, sell the news type of price action reaction to this event and Aapl starts selling off later, the QQQ could start coming down. And if that's the case, we have to watch support around this 356 to 355.5 zone. If that fails, we're going to be watching 354.28. And if that fails, then we have the very important support at 353. If 353 fails, this thing is going to come all the way down to 350 pretty easily. So you have to watch that very, very carefully. So watch both support and resistance. Don't forget about these levels. If 358 breaks to the upside, then we have 360. It could pump a little bit more. Aapl is still pumping. I think SPY just broke its high of the day. But watch resistance. And don't forget about the Aapl event. Watch Aapl very carefully. The event's about to start. And if we get that rejection, be very careful. Now, for Tsla, it broke this like shop zone right over here, but now it's going to be fighting for 220. You can see it's been hovering between 217 to 220 throughout the day, chopping back and forth and back and forth. My only concern about Tsla is it has a bearish divergence for now. And if it fails to break this 221 high right over here, this 221 high right here, if it fails to break it, then this bearish divergence is going to be valid. So be very careful with this. Apple's pumping, and we're about to start the event. Tsla could hold up and pump closer to about 220, maybe even higher. But if it fails to invalidate this bearish divergence, and if Aapl ends up selling off, there's still a risk of the market getting a rug pull. It's still very valid, but you have to watch for support and resistance. Tesla's resistance at 220, that's the more significant one. Then we have 222.5, followed by 225. And for bearish on Tsla, Tesla's going to make its way down to about, first you're going to be watching about this 218 area, followed by about 217. This entire area is where we had quite a bit of resistance and lots of chop historically. So I'm going to be watching 217 to 218. If that fails, then you're going to come all the way down to where the 50 EMA is, very close to the next level of support around the 214 area. Then there's 212.5 followed by the 209 to 210, which is where you have an imbalance. The odds do favor Tesla eventually making its way down, but there's no confirmation of it just yet. So be patient and watch support and resistance and get ready for the big Apple event. For other stocks out there like Nvidia, I told you guys Nvidia was a little bit weaker than the market. I told you it could make its way up to try to retest this resistance first before trying to continue to get a rejection. For now, it's starting to uptrend. It's trying its best to try, and not a whole lot's going on with it. It's just kind of fighting this 50 EMA. So watch that carefully. Google, excuse me, got the bullish outcome breaking above 127. I told you guys if you got a bullish outcome, we would see that happen. I was leaning more bearish before, but now it's pumping with the Apple event. So sometimes unexpected things can happen. That's true. It is what it is. Not Apple. Amazon's at 125, and now when it comes to Apple's just breaking its highs again, getting very close to that 185 resistance. I'm going to be very patient here. I'm personally just going to wait this out and I just want to remind everyone that watch resistance. We're getting very close to it. All right, guys, so that's what I have for this intraday update. Get ready for the Apple event. Apple could continue to pump during the event, but be careful afterwards because if it's a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event, Apple could start downtrending later on, as soon as today, if not tomorrow. And if that's the case, be very, very careful. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day trading, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you and peace out.